at the desired fuel quantity.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Microsoft Flight Simulator. I'm Martin Wenzel. And you can see we're fueling up. The fuel truck is just pulling away, so we're fueled up for this flight. For our Microsoft Flight Simulator World Tour Flight 257, flying into every country and territory in the world. And today we're in Nauru, on the small island of Nauru, small island nation of Nauru. And we're going to be flying southwest over to the Solomon Islands, Guadalcanal, Honiara, I believe is the capital, Honiara International Airport. We're on Nauru Airlines. This flight is going to be in the PMDG Boeing 737-800, so a little bit longer plane than the last one. Got a different livery here for Nauru Airlines. I think this is an older livery. I know this is the one I used a few years ago when I flew this flight in X-Plane 11, and the flight we did before, we were in the Boeing 737-700 Nauru Airlines, and I think that's the new livery. I've never used it before. We got the blended wing here, or not the blended, we got the split wing, split scimitar here. So I haven't flown the 738 with the split wing in a while. Beautiful free upgrade to this airport here for Nauru. Not a lot at this airport, but very beautiful. And we got the rain has just moved off, it looks like, and the sun is setting. Takeoff time is going to be about 6:30 in the evening, so should be a nice night flight for us. We'll see how that goes. All right, let's get inside. get things started here on the flight deck. We got all the payload and the fuel. We just got fueled up. Payload, everything is on board. We have power connected, so let's get in. We got the battery. Is at least on. I don't know if it's guarded. It is not. There it is. On and guarded. Electric hydraulic pumps are off, and the landing gear lever is down with 3 green. We're going to punch on the ground power. You can see everything lighting up. We'll turn on these panels since it is going to be getting dark. Get everything kind of turned up. And see what we're doing. Setting up the plane and all that good stuff. Camera goes back here. There it is. Don't need the flood so much. Alright. Right here we're going to do our fault in op test. Overheat detector switch is in the normal position. We go fault in op. We got fault APU detect in op on, and then those go off. Perfect. Fire overheat warning. Go over here. Perfect. That's complete. Extinguisher test 1. Extinguisher test for engine 2. 3 green. Alright, so back up here. We'll turn on the left aft on, our fuel pump on, and APU start. We should get a low pressure light. There it is, a low oil pressure, and that should go away, and this should start going up the EGT. Alright, flap lever is set corresponding. We have 0 flaps, so flaps are at, or the lever at 0. Let's go down the cargo fire system down here on pedestal. And we just hit the test button. There we go. Manual gear extension access door. That's right here. Open that up. You want to make sure it's closed. All the pins are here. Cockpit voice recorder test. Do the Mach speed test. Fall warning. Number two, I can never get number 2 to work. Go over here, do a test of the IRS display. For some reason, sometimes it doesn't want to show us those numbers up there. Go to heading and status and align. Alright. And co-pilot's going to go out. First officer's going to go out for an exterior go around. Or exterior inspection. That's what you call it. Right, is the APU going? Not yet. Let's try that again. Sometimes it doesn't want to take the first time. There it goes. Alright, so we got some of the old analogs in this livery, which is pretty cool. Alright, get down in here. Enter IRS position, so we'll go to FMC. We got our active air rack 2307 until August 10th. Our initial position is Alpha November Yankee November. Copy this down. Up top, switch over to nav. 074. Good. I can hear. Go to the route, origin, and our arrival is Alpha Golf Golf Hotel. Or maybe not that long. There you go. Flight number 42. We're on RON 42 again. And we're taking off a runway. We're planned for runway 30. And let's get our flight clearance.
Nauru clearance. Nauru 42. Parking 1. Request clearance to Honiara with information echo.
ANYN 42, cleared to Honiara, runway 30, fly runway heading, climb and maintain flight level 360, squawk 6554.
Cleared to Honiara, runway 30, fly runway heading, climb and maintain flight level 360, squawk 6554, Nauru 42.
ANYN 42, read back correct, when ready, contact me on ground, 121.3.
121.3, Nauru 42.
Alright, so that's kind of a strange clearance, just being cleared all the way to your cruise. Initial right away. Obviously, what I'm doing, I'm actually getting that altitude in, 36,000. Alright. Right time. 5:56. Okay, I don't know why it's like that, because when I went on the clock on the internet to see the time Zulu, it's just 12 hours difference, but it's actually 13-hour difference. Or 11-hour difference, one way or the other. Alright. Keep going here in the FMC. Got the flight plan. We're going to get the passengers coming on board, that way we're not sitting around waiting for them.
Boarding requested.
Boarding. Alright, here's our flight. First point is going to be Foxtrot November 30. Of course, if you get a bunch of these, just go into your raw. Find that Foxtrot November 30 south 36. So it actually puts, I'm guessing it puts it in order of distance, maybe, but don't want to rely on that. Always make sure you got the right coordinates. Morna. Alpha 598. And note. Bixu. See the airport lights turned on as the
Passengers bus is
sun
coming.
is quickly descending. Departure runway 30. Yeah, again, I don't know why it's not filling in. Usually when I would put in the route, it would fill in our speeds and all that stuff for the VNAV. I don't know why it's not doing that now. So I don't know what's going on with that. Arrival we're going to be doing, or planning on Bixu 1 Alpha, runway 6. We're going to do RNAV, like do RNAVs.
Passengers boarding starting.
Got a few of them in there, but usually it populates the whole thing. I don't know why it's not right now. Maybe once you do the performance. Just never noticed it like that. Go outside here. Look at that, beautiful. Alright, while the passengers are getting on and watching them, get my calculator set up on the other. Pull that up and we'll do our performance page. Alright.
Morning. Thank you.
Alright, so there's the performance calculator. We'll get down in. And
Passengers bus is coming.
alright, so 0 fuel weight. Got our fuel. Reserves. Reserves, I have 5.7, so quite a bit, because we need to be able to get over to either back to Nauru or over to Port Moresby in Papua New Guinea if we have any issues with our flight, with weather and stuff. Cost index of 13. Cruise is 36,360. Flight level 360. And transition altitude.
Passengers boarding starting.
11,000. Alright, so now we're going to hit calculate on this calculator. Just give us our 26K. Okay with that. Flaps 10 for our takeoff today. Shorter runway. You can see our trim 3.8. That's really low. And then our speeds, kind of comparing them. V1 here on the calculator is 135. In the plane, it's 136. Plane is giving us an extra knot. But, oh, that's all in there. Runway wind, calm, slope.
Thank you.
Okay. Got all that. Quickly, hoping we get a little bit as we take off, but I don't know. Great, it's going. Alright, takeoff data all set. Air conditioning going here. Let's get those packs on. So heat on. Yaw damper on. Looking at navigation, we're all in the normal. Blaze, auto and normal. Engine valve closed and spar valve closed are dim. Cross feed closed. That light should go off. There it goes. Logo light on. The wing light on. Wheel well for now. $36,000 for our pressure. Landing altitude, we'll keep it at 0. You can see our differential right here, 0. Cabin pressure, 0. Climb rate, 0. Okay. Okay, seatbelt signs on. Doors. Actually, we don't need to push back. We can just start the engine forward, I think. Okay, flight directors on, master on, captain's side, auto throttle armed. We got. Actually, we'll go through our checklist really quick. Alright, before start checklist, flight deck door closed and locked. Fuel 11.3 kilos. Pumps on. Passenger signs auto, windows locked. MCP, V2 147, heading 301, altitude 36,000. Takeoff speeds V1 136, V rotate 137, V2 147. CDU pre-flight completed, rudder and aileron trim free and zero, taxi and takeoff briefing completed, anti-collision light on.
Nauru ground, Nauru 42, parking 1, request startup.
Nauru 42, startup approved.
Startup approved, Nauru 42.
Alright, packs off. Ignition left. Starting engine 2. Starting engine 1. Gen 1 for power. Packs back on. Isolation valve auto. APU bleed off. APU off. Probe heats on. After start checklist, generators on, probe heat on, anti-ice off, isolation valve auto, engine start switches continuous. Recall checked, auto brake RTO. Flight controls. Checked. Ground equipment clear. Alright, wheel chocks removed, parking brake released. West taxi.
Nauru ground, Nauru 42, request taxi.
Nauru 42, taxi to holding point 130 via Bravo.
Taxi to holding point runway 30 via Bravo, Nauru 42.
2, contact Nauru Tower 122.1.
122.1 Nauru 42. Nauru Tower, Nauru 42, runway 30, ready for departure.
Nauru 42, line up runway 30.
Line up runway 30, Nauru 42.
Nauru 42, wind 312 degrees at 3 knots, runway 30, cleared for takeoff.
Runway 30, cleared for takeoff, Nauru 42.
For takeoff checklist, flaps. Flaps 10. Green light. Stabilizer trim. Things I forgot to do. 0.8. Go. Before takeoff checklist complete.
Positive rate of climb.
You're up.
Air Nauru 42, contact Nauru Center 125.5.
125.5, Nauru 42. Nauru Center, Nauru 42 at 2,300, climbing flight level 360. Air Nauru 42, radar contact, proceed direct Foxtrot November 30, then as 5, continue climb flight level 360. Proceed direct Foxtrot November 30, continue climb flight level 360, Nauru 42.
There's little Nauru right there, the whole nation. Airport right on the bottom, closest to us.
Proceed direct Mike Oscar Romeo November Alpha, Nauru 42.
Hey Sam, welcome in. Took off from Nauru for an evening flight down to the Solomon Islands on this world tour. The airport light just flashing behind us. Doing alright. Unexpected day off from work. Okay, landing lights off. We'll go off for the seatbelt signs. After takeoff checklist, engine bleeds on. Packs auto, landing gear up and off. Flaps up, no lights. After takeoff checklist complete. Standard pressure. I don't think I have multiplayer on, sorry. I always forget to do that. I turn it off because sometimes it's just you go some places, it's just like F-16s flying everywhere. Buzzing, whipping all over the airports. Oh, it's taking a while? Yeah, I just got the, I think that's the World Update 14 or whatever it is for Central Europe, South Central Europe. So that'd be cool to see. I'm sure there's a few places that we flew into on this world tour that would now look a lot better. So in the future, I'm just going to have to do some flights into some of these areas and explore them again, because it seems like it seems almost probably a few weeks after I fly into some place, then someone comes out with a great freeware upgrade for the area, for an airport, or they do a world update, and it's like, oh great, I just missed it. Well, the cool thing, depending on what plane you're using, and I used to be against this. I used to think it's like, oh, you should only fly everything real time. Is that you have time acceleration, and I think the person that convinced me, I forget what he is on YouTube, like 737 driver, I think. He's a real 737 pilot, and he was talking about how it's like using time acceleration in Microsoft Flight Simulator actually makes things a little bit more realistic, quote unquote, because you sitting in front of your computer, having your computer just run for 12 hours, and then you're going off and doing laundry and stuff isn't really realistic, because the pilots are always in the cockpit, they're always in the flight deck. But also, because most people, they want to fly real time, what do? They fly an hour-long flight, or they fly a 2-hour-long flight, which is, there are a lot of flights like that in real life, but there are also longer ones. And so if you're always flying those flights that fit into your schedule, that 20-minute to an hour flight, you're always going to be taking off and landing with about the same amount of fuel and the same payload. Whereas if you do a 12-hour flight, but then you use time acceleration, you're going to load that plane up full with fuel, and you have to deal with that on takeoff. Yeah, it's a little bit different taking off with a heavier plane. And you just get to do different routes. And so after watching that video that he did, I feel a lot more comfortable doing that. I don't think we're going to do it on this flight because it's a pretty short one, but I have done it on a number of flights on the world tour now, and it's really nice if you have the PMDG planes. I don't know if the Phoenix, the A320, the Phoenix A320 has this, but right here on your clock, if you can see there's a, let's see, TC/SR. If you can get it. So you got the down arrow, and then there should be an up arrow. If you click once, it'll turn the clock to yellow, the numbers to yellow, and that means you're at 2 times speed. 2 times acceleration, time acceleration, so every minute is actually 2 minutes, or every minute in real life is 2 minutes. Yeah. You know, so if you have an hour-long flight and you turn on time speed, it's only going to take you half an hour to do it. If you hit this twice, it'll turn to red. Now you're at 4 times. If you hit it again, it'll go to 8 times. If you hit it again, it'll go to 16 times. I think it goes up to 16 times. If you want to reset, you just you get the down arrow. If I can find it. Hit the down arrow, and it goes back to regular time. And then you can adjust from there. So on this plane, you can do it all through this button right here. Kind of hard to see. Let's see if I can flash it. This button right here, this TC/SR, you click up and it will 2 times, 4 times, 8 times. And with the PMDG planes, you can actually go up to 8 times and it runs just fine. Your frame rate's good, and not too many problems. If you want to reset or go back to regular time, or to go to a slower time, you'll have to go back to regular time first. You go with the down. That's on the PMDG planes. Overall, in Microsoft Flight Simulator, if you want time acceleration, you go, I think this is the default. It's control, your left control button on your keyboard, left control, R at the same time. And I believe you hold those down, control, left control, R, and then you press on your numpad, your number pad on the right side of your keyboard, minus or plus for time acceleration. So if you want to go to 2 times, you're at normal speed. If you want to go to 2 times, you go control, R, and hit the plus. There's a great program called Sim. I think it's called Sim. It's right here on my screen. I don't have it on right now. FS Sim Rate Bandit. You can find that. I think you can find that on flightsim.to, and that will help you. Yeah, so I don't know how you would do it on there. There might be a way to set it up in your keyboard settings within Microsoft Flight Simulator. You can set the shortcut to use time acceleration. I would just search time acceleration or something like that in your Microsoft Flight Simulator settings for your key bindings, and you can set up how you want to do it. The default on a regular size keyboard is going to be left control R at the same time, and then hit plus or minus. And then I would suggest getting Sim Rate Bandit, because that will then make a call out, or it actually is a little program that will show you what your sim rate is, and it'll also call it out audibly. It'll say, oh, sim rate 2, sim rate 4, and if you go back, sim rate 2, sim rate 1. That way you know what sim rate you're at. Now with the fly-by-wire Airbus A320-32X project, that's locked. You can only go to 2x speed. I believe I don't think there's any restrictions on any other planes, but it depends on your frame rate. If you go up to like something like 16 times speed, your frame rate's going to really dive, and eventually you're going to get to a point where your sim crashes, because you can't really accelerate the sim like to 32 or 64 times. It's too much. If you think about it, I mean, to do a 12-hour flight, it only takes you like 15 minutes. It's just, think of all the stuff that's got to load in and all the data. But going 2x speed is helpful on those longer hauls. And then in the PMDGs, that's why I like to do the PMDGs for if I do a longer haul, I try to do it in a PMDG, because then if I do a 6-hour flight, I can do it in an hour if I go to 4x or 8x speed. And it's very stable with the PMDG. The plane I'm flying right now, the Boeing 737. Yep, so Buenos Aires, hello. We're in the Boeing 737-800 from PMDG Simulations, payware aircraft. And like I was talking to, explaining to Sam how you can use time acceleration with this plane. It's built right into the plane, and then otherwise in Microsoft Flight Simulator, left control R, and then either plus or minus on your numpad. And then you can always, I think you can change those settings in obviously your key binding settings on Microsoft Flight Simulator. Yep. But like I said, the time acceleration is available for every plane in Microsoft Flight Simulator. I was just like, with the PMDG, it's built right in. Of course, you can also use the keyboard binding in this, but it's really nice in this because you can control it right on the clock. Yep. Yeah, for sure, the 787. Yeah, that would be a good long haul one. I would suggest, if you don't have it, because you have is there a 787-9 available? I know that you get the Dreamliner, the 10, with the Premium Deluxe. I have that. But there's the one that I'd look for, if you haven't already downloaded it, is get the Kuro 787-8 mod. It's actually really nice. It's actually a lot of the systems work way better than the the 10, and even though Heavy Division has done some good work on that, there's a mod for that one as well. I always suggest that to people, to find those modded planes, because typically a lot of the problems people have are because you're flying the vanilla stock plane, and those aren't the greatest. Awesome. Yep. Yeah, get the Kuro. I'm looking forward to doing long haul. Actually, I have a 747 flight scheduled for this world tour. We're going to fly from Incheon, from South Korea over to Japan, to Tokyo. And that's going to be Korean Air in the 747, so I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully I can get the salty mod. I'll have to try it out, just make sure I know what works and doesn't work, and all the little hiccups with the mod. And then I have we'll be in the Kuro 787-8. I'm looking forward to trying that one out. We'll do that from Hong Kong down to Brunei, on Air Brunei, or Brunei Air, or whatever it is, Royal Air Brunei, or whatever it is. So we'll have a few different planes, but basically after that, I think we're pretty much scheduled to fly most of our flights now in the Boeing 737-800 or the Airbus A320. But we'll get a 747 and a 788 in there as well. We just finished up a string of 5 flights in a row in the ATR 76 that Zobo released about a month ago, I think. Really nice plane. Once you learn it, it's really fun to fly. And it's only $12 if you have the premium deluxe version of Microsoft Flight Simulator. You get that discount. It's only $12, so it's a really nice addition for those shorter flights as well, because it's you know, the twin prop. Really nice. All right, we're slowly climbing 36,000 before we get to Morna. Okay, so it did fill in. I don't know why. A few flights ago, it did not fill in any of the flight information, like the flight levels. So I couldn't even use VNAV. It was really weird, but I guess I typically don't look at the legs page before I do my performance initialization page. Because once you do that, it should fill in all this little information. Yeah, I don't fly the 747 a lot for the reason that a 747 typically has longer flights, I guess. Or I want to fly it on a longer flight, and then I don't have time to do the longer flights. But as I'm saying to Sam here and both of you guys, everyone in here, it's like you can use the time acceleration. Don't feel bad about using time acceleration. It actually allows you to do more flights. It allows you to do more of what the kind of the main part of a pilot's job, also the big part of a pilot's job. It's because at this point in the flight, right, we have about an hour that we're just going to be kind of sitting here and watching the sunset because we're at cruise. We have everything plugged in. We got our altitude, we got our heading, we got it set to VNAV and LNAV. Everything's punched in the FMS, so the plane is going to take care of that. Now we want to monitor, and we're planning ahead, looking at what we need to plug in for the future. But if you're doing a long haul and it's a 12-hour flight, well, now you're spending 11 hours sitting in front of your computer just watching the scenery go by, which is fun. I mean, to be honest, depending where you're flying, it's really fun to see the scenery. But you can go 2 times speed and still see the scenery. You can go 4 times speed and see the scenery, and you see it faster, right? So don't feel bad. I know there are some diehard people out there that say, hey, that's not realistic. And yeah, it's not realistic, but none of what you're doing is realistic because you're not in a real life flight deck. You're not wearing, are you wearing black pants, dress pants? Are you wearing black dress shoes? Are you wearing a pilot shirt, you know, with your chevrons? You know, are you wearing a tie? You know, no, you're not. So, oh, that's no big deal. Yeah, if you're able to, you're over on Twitch. That's Twitch. But yep, you don't have to watch on Twitch. I'm here on YouTube as well. I stream both on Twitch and YouTube at the same time most of the time. I don't think I very rarely do anything exclusive to Twitch, but you know, that's available if you like to watch on Twitch. Want to support over there, but not required. But yeah, I'm looking forward to doing that 747 flight. I think we only did. I can't tell you for, but I know we did. The last time I flew the 747 was back in the Caribbean. Yeah, that was and we did the cargo for Martin Air. We flew from Peru to Ecuador. Martin Air cargo 747. That was fun. Got a few Boeings. We've done an A330 every once in a while. You know, there's been some mixes, but basically my favorite planes, the best planes I enjoy flying the most because they just work really well for the most part, are the fly-by-wire A320X for the Airbus A320, and then the Boeing 737-800. And those two work out. You can cover most flights in the world with those two planes because most flights in the world are using those two planes. And when I do my world tour, I kind of just set it up to follow those. There are just some places where the only plane to fly is the ATR. And I'm happy that they came out with an ATR, real ATR, the Zobo did, and it's not that expensive. Unfortunately, Sam, no, I don't have a scenery mod for Incheon. I'm kind of bummed out about that. I wish... It's always kind of weird because there's so many great freeware ones, and I'm actually making some YouTube videos highlighting some great, awesome freeware mods, upgrades for airports around the world. There are some amazing ones, and they're usually smaller airports, though, that I don't fly into. But then, yeah, some of these big airports, like the ones you would think, it's like, really, no one's gone through the trouble of doing it. And I think what happens is because those airports are usually the ones that you know there's going to be a payware for it. There's going to be someone putting out a product for pay. And so usually people don't work on that airport and put a lot of effort into upgrading a big airport like Incheon. So I'm figuring that's probably the issue, is that it's so much work to upgrade and put in custom content for free for a big airport versus a smaller little airport kind of out of the way. And so, yeah, if you want a scenery upgrade, you gotta have to use for Incheon. I know there is a payware version, but I haven't bought any payware scenery. At least for the foreseeable future, I'm not going to. Maybe in a few years when I change jobs for money, and, or if I'm bringing in any money, if I would bring in more money from the streaming, that could go towards buying some of these payware airports. There are some places that would have been the option, and it would have been so nice to have, but make do with what I have. And there's a lot of free upgrades. Even Nauru, where we just flew out of, had a nice one. But again, that's such a small airport, so you can you can't play Infinity Flight Sim? Well, I have Microsoft Flight Simulator, and I poured a bunch of money into it, and it's really good, so... but yeah, I know a lot of people that play Infinity Flight Sim, and it looks like a pretty cool little sim, inexpensive, so it's cool that there's different options. Microsoft Flight Simulator is sort of taken over as the flagship simulator now in the community, in the flight sim community. I'm not sure which one would have been considered the flagship before Flight Simulator 2020 came out, because you had FSX still out there. A lot of people were still on there, but it was kind of out of date. So people had migrated over to Prepared 3D and Flight X-Plane, which are both X-Plane and Prepared 3D are a little bit more on the simulator side than on the game side, right? Microsoft Flight Simulator is more of a game, though for the average flight simmer, or for the average person who wants to fly, Microsoft Flight Simulator is a great option, and it's a beautiful option. It's so beautiful. It's so the scenery is so great. But I would say, yeah, probably X-Plane. I got into that when I got into flight simming 2018. X-Plane was the one I went with, because obviously X-Plane 11 had just released, I think. Now X-Plane 12 is coming down. I think Prepared 3D, they're releasing version 6 or something. So the flight sim community, there's lots of options. Microsoft Flight Simulator, again, is probably the most popular because it is the most popular name in flight simming. It always has been, but there was kind of that 10 years where nothing new was really coming out, and then it really came out swinging with 2020, and now 2024 is going to be coming out with a new version of it, with the expectation, with the hope that most of the mods that we've paid for, like these planes, like the PMDG, will transfer over. You'll still be able to use it in 2024, and possibly the mod will also take advantage of better things available in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. So I'm looking forward to it. I don't know if I'm going to get 2024 right off the bat. I'm going to be going through some financial changes at that time, so probably won't have a ton of time to be flight simming at all, and spending extra money on that kind of stuff is probably not going to be in the budget when that one comes out. But I'm going to be doing some real cool things. I think at least my plan is to be doing things that are going to make flight simming kind of redundant, or definitely not as cool as what I'm doing in real life. I'm surprised the sun is still up as much as it is.
Air Nauru before 2, proceed direct Mike Alpha November Oscar Tango, then is 5. Proceed direct Mike Alpha November Oscar Tango, Nauru for 2.
For ATC, I'm using FS HUD ATC. It's a decent solution. It's better than the ATC that comes with Microsoft Flight Simulator stock out of the box. It actually controls the other aircraft too. Once you inject aircraft in using FSLTL or AIG or FS traffic, whatever it is you're using, or just the stock vanilla traffic being injected in through Microsoft Flight Simulator, FS HUD ATC will take it over, will control those planes, tell those planes where to go. Really nice. And the ATC will interact with them. You'll hear them interacting with them. And they just came out with an update, and so now the voices are still your AI voices, but they've added in the radio degradation, which is really cool, and I feel like they've cleaned up some of the phraseology and all that stuff as well. So if you're looking for an ATC, probably at this point I would say hold off on getting FS HUD ATC at this point, because Beyond ATC is coming down the pipeline pretty soon, and it's looking very promising. Sounds awesome. You can actually interact with it. You can use your voice and talk to the ATC, which is a game changer because it allows you to practice making your calls as opposed to just having your first officer making the calls as we're having with FS HUD ATC. But yeah, the Beyond ATC is sounding really cool. The voices sound awesome. The premium voices. Now, if you get just the standard version, you get the AI voices, which is fine, right? But what's really cool is that it interacts with you. So if you make your call back, like Beyond ATC, if you make your call to ATC and you repeat it back wrong, ATC will say, no, that's wrong, negative, and you'll even hear the exasperation in their voices a little bit, the way they've got it set up. It's amazing what you can do now and how far things are coming. So I'm looking forward to that. That's probably going to be my next mod purchase. But I'm looking forward to that one. Unfortunately, it doesn't sound like it's going to control the other traffic. It'll talk to the other traffic, but what's controlling it, whether it's just I guess Microsoft Flight Simulator then controls it itself, which can be way goofy in a lot of ways. You know, that age-old problem where you'll get cleared to take off from, let's say, runway 1, and then but then all the other aircraft's getting cleared to land or take off the opposite direction right at you. Well, why'd you clear me for runway 1 when you're having everyone go to runway 19? But that's the limitation of AI, which is why it's something like VATSIM, where you're dealing with real human beings, all simulating doing ATC and all that stuff. Well, that's why VATSIM is so popular. I'm not crashing the plane. No. I have crashed the plane a few times on some of these flights. We had what was the last one I had where I had to do a go around. Did the go around, hit the GA, went full throttle for go around, raised the landing gear, brought up the flaps, did everything, and suddenly my plane just lost power. All the power just cut out, and we just went right down into the ocean on the other side. It was just nothing I could do. It was like I look back, I'm just like trying to figure out. I go back and watch the stream. I'm like, okay, what did I do wrong? Because I had the altitude in. I didn't even have autopilot on, so I was flying by hand. Auto throttle was off. Had the throttle full in for a go-around procedure. Landing gear up. Flaps retracted, and suddenly all engine power just cut out and nosedived it into the ocean. I want to say that was out like Tonga or something. I had to do that flight again because it didn't count that we made it to that country, and I'm flying in every country and territory, but it didn't count because we didn't actually land. We just crashed. I think another one I had, it was Egypt Air, so we were out in the Middle East. I can't remember where it was, but for some reason ran out of fuel. Probably, I want to say probably a mile short of the runway. Ended up ditching, landing in the water, just short of the airport. So it's happened. American or Southwest, like Airlines? I don't know. As far as like real life, I don't know if I've even flown. I'm trying to think if I've even flown either of those airlines in real life. I might have done American, because I used to live in China, and so I flew between Beijing and Incheon and Chicago and Shanghai and Hangzhou many times over the 8 years that I lived there. You know, at least once a year I would do a round trip. So but for those flights I would, like, I'm trying to think what I took the first. I wish I had written down like my flights, or I had somewhere I could find them. Because I know I flew like Asiano once. I know I've flown United a number of times for that trip. Because United has a direct from Chicago to Shanghai, which was very convenient for where I lived. But I can't remember if I've ever flown American. I don't know if American flies, you know, Chicago to, you know, anything over to China. So I don't think if I've done an American. I know we flew from Milwaukee to New York, you know, over 10 years ago, and I can't remember if that, you know, what that was. That was probably a regional. That was probably like American Eagle, maybe. And I don't think I've ever done, but I know I've never done Southwest, because I've only flown domestically twice. Well, 3 times technically, but that was I flew from, I think, Milwaukee or Chicago over to Seattle, and then Seattle to China, or to one or the other. But I did a flight from Milwaukee down to Phoenix, and that was Frontier, I believe, and then that Milwaukee to New York probably was, you know, a SkyWest or a Envoy or something, you know, a regional. Yeah, I've never been on Southwest. I like their plane. I mean, I like both. I think American and Southwest both have some nice, you know, pretty cool liveries. You know, American has the obvious livery. It's got the American flag. I kind of like that they've kind of gone to the battle, you know, the battleship gray. You know, since they went away from having the, naked bodies, the, you know, the aluminum, the tiny going, because that's pretty expensive. So they went to the battleship gray. I think that works, and I like that livery. And then Southwest, obviously, you know, it sticks out. I love Southwest, you know, current liveries. I don't really like the older ones, but the new ones where it's like the blue and then the red and the yellow, really just those primary colors just look really good for some reason, the way they have it. But in sim, like when I do fly U.S. flights, I've flown American, I've done United, I do Southwest. I've flown probably almost there. I'm trying to think what airlines I haven't flown for the U.S. You know, major, you know, 737, A320, bigger airplanes. You know, I've done Spirit, I've done Frontier, done Allegiant. I haven't done a Velo or Sun Country. I'm trying to think. Most, you know, I've done JetBlue. I've done a JetBlue flight. United. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I couldn't tell you. You know, which one I prefer. I know American just they just rolled out a new offer for their pilots and everyone, their contract. Added another couple $1 billion to the offer or whatever after United signed theirs. So it's a kind of an arms race right now with these new contracts coming out for the pilot unions and the workers at these airlines, because demand for air travel is so high right now, and the pay just hasn't kept up, and couple that with the massive shortages. Pay is looking really good. You know, and a lot of it's not even just the pay. Because the pay, at least for pilots, is already there, especially at your major airlines. It's more the quality of life. It's more the scheduling. It's more the what time do you get off and all that. So, you know, the big problem hitting the airlines now is you hear all the time about the pilot shortage. Off the center tanks here. You hear about the pilot shortage, but the big issue is more there's a pilot shortage at like the regional airlines, because as soon as a pilot gets to a point where they can get to a bigger airline like Southwest, American, United, Delta, they basically jump ship as soon as they can, because that's where you're going to get paid more and you're flying those bigger planes, and that's kind of the goal for it. That's the end goal. So that leads to a shortage of captains at the regionals, and so that's why it's so quick right now. You get in as a first officer in like 1-2 years, you're at a captain, and then a couple more years, and now you're at a major airline, right? But the problem also is that even at the big airlines, at all the airlines, a lot of first officers are not upgrading to captain. They need them to upgrade to captain, but a lot of first officers are like, I don't want to. Because what happens when you upgrade to captain is you might have to switch your base, where you work out of, which airport you work out of. And now that might mean instead of living in the same city where your airport is. You know, let's say you're based in Chicago and you live in Chicago or the area. Well, now you upgrade to captain and you might be based out of Newark or out of Denver or whatever it is. And now you have to commute to work or you have to move your family. Plus, you end up, now you're at the bottom of the totem pole in terms of seniority as a captain. And so now you don't get the best schedule. You don't get to pick your preferred schedule because you're the last in line. And so, yeah, you get that, you know, you almost get a 100% pay raise. Right? You almost double your pay rate, but your quality of life can just crash. And a lot of people are like, well, I'm already making really good money. You know, you're an extremely senior first officer. You're making really good money. And you get your pick of trips. You get your pick of schedule. And you're living probably in the base you want to live in, where you want to live, work where you want to, you live where you work, right? You don't have to commute, you know, terribly long, you know, whatever it is to get from your house to the airport. That's it. Whereas you upgrade captain, cool, you get a $100,000 raise, let's say, which is not nothing. But now you're at the bottom of the poll, you're at the bottom of the list, right? So now you don't get to, and you probably are not upgrading to captain in the place where you live. You have to go now and work out of another airport, which you can still do. Commuting is a big thing in the airline industry. You know, there's people that they live in Rome and they're based in New York. And so every time they have to work, they commute, they fly from Rome to New York. Not everyone wants to do that, and that eats into your off time because your travel to work, you know, it's just like when you drive your car to work or whatever it is in a regular life job, right? You don't get paid for commuting. Oh, that makes sense. Buenos Aires, Argentina, yeah. We flew into Argentina. I don't think I flew into Buenos Aires though. We flew into Cordoba, I think, for Argentina on this world tour. Just didn't work out to fly into Buenos Aires. I'll have to do a separate flight to fly in there because it's always fun. I enjoyed flying into different areas in South America. I think there's like 2 places in the world that are kind of neglected with Microsoft Flight Simulator, or with, you know, any like flight videos in general, but especially in the simulator world, is South America and Africa. People just don't fly there a lot, especially Africa. I think there's actually a pretty good South American community, or at least for me as an English, you know, native English speaker, you know, a lot of the people I follow, you never see them really go to South America and Africa a lot. So that's why I like to do this world tour, because I fly everywhere, you know, and a lot of these places just don't get flown to a lot, especially on a stream. Like, we're flying to the Solomon Islands. How many times are people like, oh, we're gonna fly to the Solomon Islands today? Not too often. You kind of bump up the brightness up. Let me know how that looks, if that's too bright or not. You can kind of see what's going on. It's a little dark. I say it looks pretty bright out here, and I think it's because we actually do have the moon might have a moon out here. Yeah, kind of. I don't know. I don't really have a favorite airline. My favorite would probably comes down to like paint scheme. At this point, just because, you know, my flying is all in more of a simulator kind of environment. Doesn't look like there's any moon out down here in the southern hemisphere, so not the right time of day yet. Time of night. I'd have to kind of go through and look at like different liveries, what my favorite would be. That's probably another video I'll eventually, or I kind of want to make for the YouTube channel. Kind of cool liveries. There's a few that we're coming up like Batik Air. Batik Air out in Indonesia has a really cool, I think a really cool looking livery. Again, that's another thing I love doing with this world tour is flying all these different airlines. And unfortunately, because just the way I'm doing this world tour, I can't fly every airline that has a cool livery or is cool, and I'd like to see just the way we're doing the world tour. And so eventually, my plan for the future once I finish this world tour is to kind of just go around the world and fly maybe like, you know, one flight, you know, kind of just go through each continent and, you know, do a European flight, and then do an American flight, then do a Asian flight, then do a, you know, a Pacific flight, then do an African flight, then do a South American flight, and kind of just rotate and go to different places and find cool airlines, because there are some really cool ones, and you know, these are usually like budget airlines, or they're, you know, airlines obviously you never heard of. I mean, I've never heard of Batik Air. I've never heard of a lot of these airlines, but it's so cool now that I've done this world tour, and when you're willing to go fly all over the place. Part of me would love to just fly like the same airline again and again and do like I have Sim Pilot Life, and I'm doing a SkyWest right now on that, but kind of focused on doing this world tour right now and knock that out, and eventually we'll get to a point where maybe I fly just a ton of flights in America, or just, you know, pick one area and fly that area a lot and explore. Because that is one thing with the world tour, is that we kind of fly in and then fly out. We don't really get to see a ton of the country. We kind of get, hopefully we fly into a really cool part of the country. Usually the capital or the biggest city tends to be where we're flying into. And this is kind of, you know, when we fly to these islands out in the Pacific, it's a little tedious in a way, because there's not as much to see usually. It's just, here's an island and then the rest of it's ocean. But it's always cool to do it, because it is a real life flight. Try to do the real life flights as much as possible. This one's a real life one. Real life, it's flown in the Boeing 737-300. Okay, I'm guessing is a very short Boeing. And considering the amount of people, I did I used SimBrief to get the payload and everything, and the flight from Kiribati over to Nauru, last flight, only had 72 passengers on the Boeing 737-700, which can fit like 160. So we had like half the flight was empty. And then this flight, we only have like 113 passengers. So again, maybe 60% full flight. So it's pretty cool how SimBrief does that, it knows where you're going to have a lot of passengers on a plane or you're not. Oh, it looks like there's some lightning or something. Every once in a while I get a little flash there. I mean, you can see the red light, but that's ours. And then every once in a while there's like a flash. There's like a little bit of storms going on below us. Yep, there it was again. Huh. We don't need to divert or anything. Are. Here. Yeah, it looks like there's some storm going on. A little bit of lightning flashing somewhere. Trying to find it on the radar or anything. I'm not seeing. Much of anything on the radar.
Air Nauru report to contact Honiara Center 118.1. 118.1 and Nauru report to. Honiara Center and Nauru report to inbound window at flight level 360. Air Nauru report to radar contact. Maintain flight level 360. Maintain flight level 360 and Nauru report to.
we're starting to get close, almost to our top of descent. Go lower altitude in so the VNAV can do its thing. Hopefully we'll get cleared for that as well. Alright, so you can see the something going on up there, some islands. We'll pull up the charts and let's start kind of planning. Got everything set. So our first one, we got the Bixu 1 Alpha arrival.
Before 2, expect Bikes 1 Alpha arrival, Apex ANYN approach, runway 06, report when ready for descent. Expect Bix 1 Alpha arrival, Apex ANYN approach, runway 06, report when ready for descent, Nauru 42. Nauru 42, ready for descent.
Alright, so we already have everything in our flight computer, and it's going to have us start descending now. So again, pretty early, which is nice. They've got us cleared all the way down to 5,000. Alright, we're beginning our descent. Tilt signs on. We're a little bit below that pink arrow, but a big thing is that with all that pink arrow, sometimes you struggle because you do have to cut speed once you get to 10,000 feet. So sometimes it doesn't take into account. So we got the old dials over here. Alright, let's take a look at our chart. So here's our standard terminal arrival route for the RNAV. Bixu 1 Alpha. Got Bixu, we're going to come in all the way into Delta and then into Hexi. There's our initial approach fix, and then from there go into our approach right there. You can see 5,000. They've got us cleared all the way down to 5,000. So looking at the approach chart itself, kind of overlaid and everything. Right here, RNAV, runway 06, Honiara, Solomon Islands, effective May 23rd. Came out May 17th, 2019, so it's still up to date. Right here, we got final approach course is 59 degrees, so we're going to throw that in right up here on the approach knobs, or the course knobs, I mean, 59 degrees. Alright, so we got our courses in 59, 59. Back under the chart. Procedure altitude is 2,680 at Golf Hotel 536. You can see the kind of cross section. That's I want to say about the midway point, a little bit before the midway point, just so you know that you're descending at the proper glide slope of 3.5 degrees. So at this point, you should be at 2680. Starting at 5,000, 6.2 nautical miles out from Golf Hotel 536, which is this point. That's when we start our slope. 2 miles out, we should be at 3420. Want to be at 2680. So various points where we can check to make sure we're on the proper slope, because we are on a on an RNAV, not ILS, so we don't have vertical guidance. Even though it usually does, it does do a vertical guidance now through these FMSs, which is really cool. If it's all set up right and captures it. All right, here we have the LNAV minimum decision altitude, which is 610 feet. That's if we're using the LNAV, which we are. We're gonna go over here, 610 feet. Throw away that GPS for now. Doing here. All right, 610 feet. So you're up here, barrow. Make sure you set the barrow. Radio would be if you're doing the height, which would be 576. That's height above the runway. We're doing the barrow, which is the actual just elevation, our altitude. So we're looking for 610. Max 600, 610. All right, that's set. Again, the airport elevation is 34, runway 34. You take 610 minus 34, you get 576. That's how you're getting that height. 34, so we're gonna go up here to our landing elevation, put that 50. In the chart. Missed approach, track runway course 59 degrees to Golf Hotel 582, turn left direct to Golf Hotel 671, track 278 degrees to Golf Hotel 703, track 226 degrees to Apexi at or above 5,000. Turn back to that initial approach fix. Max speed until initial turn complete is 185 knots. A little bit more information about, we could have it set in hectopascals, inches if they require it, but normally hectopascals, which is what we're in right now. Should be. Oh. Transition.
Report 2, cleared X1 Alpha, arrival.
All right, we're cleared for the arrival.
Cleared X1 Alpha, arrival, Nauru for 2.
Alright, so we got transition level, flight level 120. That's where we go from flight levels to feet. So right now we're at flight level 270. Once we get here, we'll go to feet. Then our transition altitude is 11,000 feet. Once again, that's where we'll go to the local pressure. Got the holding points. We have a map of our approach. Coming here, 149 degrees, turn to 59 for our final. If we go missed, out until Golf Hotel 582, track to Golf Hotel 671, 278 degrees over to 703, 26 back to Apexi. You can see we have a few elevations we need to pay attention to. We're at 5,000 feet until we get to Golf Hotel 401, so it shouldn't be an issue. You see we do have a few 2675, 2657, 2172, 1506. There are some points here, but we should be above that if we maintain our proper glide slope. Right here is another one, Apexi. We have 5,000 feet, max of 210 knots. Also for the hold. It doesn't look like we have any other speed restrictions. That's the only one. Continuing down, we have again the cross section of the descent, 5,000 down to 2680 at 536. Here's our minimums and then the runway. Again, straight in landing, runway 6, LNAV, 610 feet for the minimum decision altitude. You see we're not authorized over here to circle the land. You know, if we need to go to runway 24, if they decide to switch us to runway 24, we need to go down 06 or cut back up here. Can't go over here. The reason for that is, you know, again, the elevations, 3,000s, so they don't want you low in this area. Everything's going to be done on this side of the airport. Alright. Once we get landed, check this out. It looks like we're more than likely going to have to turn around, come back. We'll exit at runway, or at taxiway Delta, probably Alpha, Bravo or Alpha. This looks like the domestic. This is kind of confusing. Like, what is this area right here? Maybe this is general. Because here we got international and domestic aviation. Probably going to go to that area. Here again, high terrain west and southwest of the airport. All aircraft FK28 and above must use turning nodes at runway ends for 180 turns on the runway. International departing aircraft with minimum takeoff weight 15,432 pounds or more to use minimum thrust when taxiing from the international apron. Runway 24 right-hand circuits. Well, that means right-hand circuits means that if you're just flying, if you're doing your patterns coming in, you'd be flying over here, right turn, always turning right. You're always turning right doing that circuit. Because again, high elevation over here, so you don't want to be inside of here. Obviously, ideally, the best approach would probably be coming into runway 24. It would, well, ideally actually the way we're coming in, because if you're coming to runway 24 and then have to go around, then you have to get up above that elevation. But we are coming in over the elevation. See that high elevation, but we should be fine at 5,000 feet. You can see we're going to finish getting to 5,000. Probably even. Well, I'm going to keep going down. Once we get to our 10,000, that's when we'll bleed speed and we'll descent will slow quite a bit. Alright. On the chart, we had the VOR. I like to put the VOR in just as a backup. So, down here, you can see nav. Now, this is a slightly different panel. That's a pretty cool thing with the PMDG planes, that they have different panels. Different panels you can put in. This one's different. The one on the other panel has actually have two sets of these. Then you switch between them, and it'll say ILS and VOR. This one's kind of old school. I'm guessing it's probably an old school version where ILS or VOR you don't choose. It figures it out for you. There's our VOR 113.6. 113.6. They're both in, and you can see now it's going up. Our chart, we're 61 miles out. See some of the islands. Our island, probably. I don't know why it just suddenly decides to start tipping a ton. Whoa. Just flying over this island right here. There you go. Now you're flying Delta 4533. Where are you flying from and to? What's your route today? Alright, so we just flew over Maleta, that island right there. Put GPS back on. You can Maleta, we just flew over that. We're headed to Guadalcanal. You see a little bit of the terrain. Obviously, a lot more terrain. We're crossing the indispensable strait. Then once we pass this island right here, Nugela Sula Island, we'll be crossing Iron Bottom Sound, which I'm assuming is named after, came about during World War II, with all the fighting going on here, the straits around Guadalcanal during the battle. Alright, standard pressure, or local pressure 1012. And we'll go tab here so we slow down. We gotta bleed off all that speed. We're at 10,000 feet. Yep, landing lights on. Little 10,000 feet. I've got it brightened up for you guys so you can see the land below us. I can barely see it on my screen. Dark out there. Blind you with the light. Alright, so we're gonna go, let's pop over the calculator. Alright, calculator's giving us flap 40. Pro speed 141 knots. VREF 136. We're going to go with auto brake 3. Auto brake 2 would give us a margin of about 41 meters. So we're going to go auto brake 3, so we have a margin of 494. We don't usually go for runway. Yeah, you can definitely see that elevation there. Flaps 1. Oh, blind you with the light there. Flaps 2. There's the runway over there. Flaps 5.
Air Nauru report 2, turn left heading 150.
Flaps 10.
Left heading 150, and Nauru report 2.
I believe we have 113 on this flight. 113. Flaps 15. Flaps 25. Landing gear down.
Air Nauru report 2, turn right heading 185, cleared by now, approach at 2,700, runway 06, report established final track.
Flaps 30.
Right heading 185, cleared INAV, approach at 2,700, runway 06, report established final track, Nauru report 2.
Flaps 40.
Nauru report 2, established on final track. Air Nauru report 2, wind 0.71 degrees at 4 knots, cleared to land 06. Cleared to land 06, Nauru report 2.
Okay, we're cleared to land. All the lights on. Landing checklist down to the flaps. Engine start switches continuous. Speed brake armed. Landing gear down. Complete landing checklist. Flaps 40. Green light. Checklist complete. So yeah, it's pretty cool with the RNAV. It still pulls in that glide path. It automatically does that. So it's very similar to ILS almost, except it's not ILS. But it basically operates almost the same way in many respects. Because you got the two pink diamonds right here. Those are pulling us in automatically. Now obviously if we weren't on didn't have the glide path, we'd fly it in by hand, and once we get about 1,000 feet, I'll disengage the autopilot and fly it in. Because I don't believe RNAV has auto land. If you're on ILS, and I think the Boeings have the auto land. I know the fly-by-wire, the A321X, the Airbus, you can do auto land with the ILS. Which is nice for landing when it's very low visibility, raining, fog, you can't see. Even more so at night when you have those conditions. Well, I'm hoping for a perfect landing. Last couple have been high 300 feet per minute. Just a little bit firm, a little bit hard. Try not to do a Ryanair landing here. Autopilot disengaged.
Approaching minimums. Minimums.
Continue. I'm not sure why the lights are all white. Not a proper color.
$100. 50. 30. 20. 10.
Alright, probably a little firm again. Reverser's off. Auto brake disengaged. Negative 291 feet per minute, so firm, but better than last couple. Speed brake. Tracked it. Extracting flaps. APU start. Probes off. Damper off. Flight directors can come off. I was gonna go to Alpha, but there is no Alpha, so we're gonna... Sometimes the airport map and the airport in the sim don't always match. Careful of that. I was kind of looking down and I didn't see any taxiway for Alpha, so we're gonna get off at Bravo. Works just fine. Alright, TCAS off, strobe lights off, radar off, landing lights off. And I guess we're just gonna go park over here somewhere. Technically that's where the international apron is, but not modeled, so we're gonna right over here. Parking brake set. The collision light off. And engine's coming off. Okay, I guess we can park here, but we can't park in the other spot. If I can get the right parking. There's always the problem when there's not very clear where parking is. It looks like there's parking over here, but not, you know, at least for GSX, but not over it. Alright, so I guess we'll go parking too, and we'll park in this area. As that happens.
The boarding requested.
Hey, deboarding requested. And while we're deboarding, we'll pull up Atlanta and check out the flight. Okay, first person to arrive in Honiara today. Pretty straight shot, negative 290 for our landing rate. Flight time an hour 47, 720 miles, and landing speed 130, just about right. Fuel burn 5130. A good flight right there.
Bus is coming.
Check out the world tour map. I wouldn't call that Ryanair. Ryanair would be a little bit firmer. Alright, world tour map, everywhere we've been so far on world tour, and today reveal the Solomon Islands right there.
Passengers departing
Guadalcanal.
starting.
Next flight. Flight we're flying over to Papua New Guinea. Be right over here, Port Moresby down here, basically where that anchor is popping up. So that will come probably on Sunday. Same time, and we'll be flying Air New Guinea in the Boeing 737-800. You guys can join me for that. Alright, well, I gotta go quick here. We got some plans this morning. So, till next time, happy flying and take care, and I'll see you on Sunday.